Comrades, I am Admiral Andre, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. This is the second episode of Apollo Venus, or Apollo Eve in our case. I returned the craft back to Kerbin. I did a re-entry and all of that, so I guess that was $1 billion down the drain, because we did not, or I did not, I should take that hit there, I did not put on the probes to go into Eve's atmosphere and land there. So that, of course, is a necessary part of this mission. We could, of course, say we can do it without them, but why not just take them? So we still have about 4 hours before the window here is at its peak, so I think we're fine. We can just see the graphics mods here are glitching out a little bit, unfortunately. They are not happy with something. But, oh well, we'll carry on regardless. So let's go back into the VAB and attach the required parts. After that, I'll meet you back in orbit because we've seen the launch already, twice. So it's not necessary to go through that again. So, comrades, here we are. Apollo, well, Saturn V, Venus. So, of course, it is still Apollo Venus. Now we have to attach the probes. Now, in this case, there are no specifications in terms of what we are looking for. If I'm just going back to the Wikipedia again, which is, I know it's not always the best source, but it's often the most convenient, would carry 2 or more small probes which would be released to fly by to enter the atmosphere of Venus. So, of course, I don't even know if that needs to land. But we might as well make them landers. Let me just search here again. Just searching for Apollo Venus probes, just to see if anything comes up. So there's something about the manned Venus flyby. Probes. Here's another one. Let's have a look at that. This is the one we've seen before. Just these websites. Let me just see. Probe. A series of probes. Now, is this the right one? Yes, I think it is. So, a series of probes was to be dropped by the spacecraft, and they were successfully enumerated in the proposal for the triple flyby variant of this mission. Near closest approach, the MVF, not sure what that is, would launch an orbiter and 14 planetary probes. 6 atmospheric probes. I think this is a different variant of the Apollo Venus mission. It still says here the Apollo Applications Program, so I suppose this was another option. So 4 atmospheric probes entering the atmosphere at 6 locations, and 2 crash landing probes and 2 soft landers. Good grief, examining the soil as well. The AAP was killed dead. Redundancy. On August 16, 1968. Cut the funding. Oh well. Let's have a look. This gives me some ideas, comrades. So I'm just going back into the game now. I'm rejoining you here. What can we do? Even if we have one small lander, but I like this idea of sending an orbiter. Now, again, this might be more of an unconventional option than was considered for the main Apollo Venus, but I like this. What would we use for that? Of course, the whole thing would have to be very, very tiny, including the probes to land on Venus, or at least to enter the atmosphere, but if we're going, we might as well make a lander. So let me just have a look. What can we fit in here? What about this kind of a tank? You know, that's not too bad. We can almost make that work. Perhaps on the other side here. What do you know? Of course the antenna is in the way here. But if I put another one of these girder segments in, that could work as an attachment point. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to mess with this now. That's the way it goes, I guess. Or was this now not a good idea? Okay, that we can work with. That's alright. I just will use the tools here to fix this. Now, I was tempted partially to actually do all of this off camera and then meet you back in orbit, but then I was thinking, you know, that's the whole point of this series, is to actually build the stuff together and go through every single step of the whole project so that by the time we go to our destination, you will know exactly what's going on and what every single part was supposed to do and why it was placed there and all of that. That makes quite a difference, I think. Most people will either speed build this stuff or they will just skip over it and just do the mission. But that's sort of, you know, defeating the purpose in a sense. If you want a quick video, of course, that's the way to go. But if you want to have the full experience, then Admiral Andre is your friend. So let's put this back on and just move that. So essentially, I think this might be a bit higher than it was before, but it should not affect the docking there. Just want to see that those edges line up. I like that. And now, of course, I don't want the base of the thing clipping into the adapter there. So this is actually a good one. I like that. So what's next? Now we have this space here. What can we do with it? It's actually not as much space as I would have liked, but we can work with that. First of all, we have to determine exactly what we can take. What is the volume that we can take along? So something like this can work, but it's sort of clipping into the engine. So, well, it's not sort of clipping, it is clipping. But if we offset the thing like that, it could work. It's still in the fairing and it will sort of... I use sort of a lot suddenly to help to offset the mass of the antenna. Of course, it will be more than the offset, but still. So this gives us the basic specs, basically. Let's see, I can't put another one there. No. So with that said, I think what we need to do now is actually close this whole thing. I have not made any other changes here. So we should not see... No, of course I have. I just moved this whole thing here. So I'm going to save that and then new. So we know exactly what we have to do now. Let us take a look at a probe core for the orbiter. Now, most likely we don't need an orbiter. That's the other source there has spoken about the 2 probes to enter into the atmosphere. So it says nothing about an orbiter. Let's just play around with this idea. So if we use the big probe core here, maybe this is too big. We could get away with a smaller one. This will be another exercise in microengineering, as I like to call it. So let's see, now we've got this. What will we need for an actual orbiter? An actual orbiter will need some kind of fuel. But we want to make this as micro as possible. So let's actually use one of those struts. Octagonal struts, and attach those new fuel tanks. These ones, either the baguettes or the dumplings. Oh, look at how massive that is actually. Now we'll use the dumplings. Also, by the way, this makes a nice Sputnik, if you haven't seen that other video of mine. I'm not sure if I like the look of that. This will be a very industrial type of build here. That's way too much fuel anyway. All we want is to be able to put this into an orbit. I'm wondering if that will actually work though. How much delta V would we need for that? Or should we do aero braking? You see, this opens up a whole other avenue. That gives us 3.6 kilometers, but of course this is just one tiny fragment of the whole thing. Now, if we want the actual probe, we could put it inside something like that. Then put a dish on this thing somewhere. Let's just see what is it that we need again for the size here. See, that is a bit more than we actually can get away with. We can still try this. Let's just see what can we do now. Now this is pure problem solving here. This is something I have not even considered before starting this video, what this will actually look like. So if we put that there, that will detach the thing. Now if we, what do we need then? We could even use the orbiter to send the probe into an atmospheric entry, so then this goes back into orbit then, so the actual probe does not need any fuel. So what do we need for that? Let's take one of the basic hex probes. Whew, no, that's gonna be too big for this whole thing, unless we use one of the tiny ones. Let's see, what heat shields do we have? Can't say I've ever used the smallest heat shield. This might be a nice opportunity for that. Then of course we need a probe core, and what's next? Some kind of way to gather power, and of course a parachute. Let's just put this on the top for now. Let's try and build it here first where we can see the thing. So let's take a small fuel tank. One of these Oscar Bs. Of course we empty it out completely, so it's now just a structural element. Then we move the probe thing inside that. I know it's going to clip the edges there, but that's okay. We can live with that. Then this is the body of the actual lander now. The atmospheric probe and lander. Why wouldn't you combine those two functions if you can? So then we need a parachute of some description. In this case, of course, we need only a very small one for Eve. Then we need batteries, of course. How much clipping could we get away with? Maybe just 2 batteries, since that space is empty inside there. Let's use 2. This is now a bit of creative engineering here. It's the equivalent of creative bookkeeping, which is not necessarily above board. But here we just have to clip this stuff in. Now, of course, I feel comfortable with this because we emptied out the tank. So we'll imagine the engineers are putting things in here in a manner in which they would fit. So we have the probe core and the batteries. That's all. I'm not going to put anything else in there. What we then need is a power source. We could either put panels on here. Now if we did this, these things would definitely burn up. And I can't move them in too far. Well, there is possibly another solution. Let's think outside the box. Box being the operative word here. It's going to be a whole episode just about an Eve lander. Like this. Now, this is a CubeSat, of course, so this whole thing is just a probe core, and this allows us, of course, to put solar panels on the side. Perfectly. And of course, I'll move them in a bit. Like that. Then what do we need? We need a parachute again. Sure, that's a massive parachute now. Good grief, but we don't get smaller. I wonder what would happen if we only used a drogue chute. I mean, on Eve, even a drogue chute would kind of like be a parachute. It's still probably gonna blow up, but I'm willing to do an experiment here, comrades. Bear with me. This parachute fits very nicely here. It might mean sacrificing this probe, but I want to see for something very light like this, what is the effect in the atmosphere of Eve of a very small radial mount drogue chute? Will it actually be a safe landing? Even if the heat shield blows up, I'm okay with that. What is the tolerance of the heat shield? 9 meters per second. It might absorb the shock. We can sort of, again, pretend. Do we have to pretend, though, that we have some kind of crumple zone technology? Why don't we just build it? There's the crumple zone technology, so that thing will absorb the shock. Of course, we can then get rid of this whole thing. It's not going to work anymore. We'll make the thing fit, don't worry. Yes. I'm liking this, comrades. I'm liking this a lot. We still have over 3.5 kilometers of delta V. We could we can send this from Kerbal's orbit to Eve without the whole Apollo thing. Now we need an experiment or two. Now an atmospheric one. Let's take the barometer. We want to know about the atmosphere of Venus. So we'll put this in here in a way that it's actually gonna work now without hanging over. As long as the main area of the parachute is not covered. Might have to play around with that a bit. What's next? We need something to measure the surface, so an accelerometer will fill that role for us. Now the main parachute is still free here, so we've only covered up the edges of the base there. So I'm happy with this. The thing will still deploy, of course, anyway, but we want it to be logically sensible. So that is our atmospheric and lander probe. Now, of course, it will also need the batteries again. So in this case, I'm just going to put 2 of them inside the probe core, because we will again imagine the engineers have built them into the thing from the start. There, it's built into the thing. So what do we need next? An antenna, of course. So all we need is something to get to the orbiter. Of course, it won't be in communication all of the time, but that's not necessary. We just want to get some data back from the probe. So actually, let's try and balance this thing. We'll put them out like that. That should survive. Then also we'll have the one extra for redundancy. Just to the very edge there. Good. And then we need a dish for the orbiter. That's going to be the real challenge. We could do... Oh, good grief, that's too massive. 22.4 billion meters. Part of me is tempted to say we can still use this, just because then, even though we won't be in communication with the orbiter from Kerbal at all times of the year, at those times of the year when the 2 planets are closer together, or at least within 22.4 billion meters, they will be able to communicate and of course transmit data from the surface. So I can live with that. And this is a relay antenna. What does it weigh? 150 kilos. Now putting one on is going to make the whole thing unbalanced here, so we might have to put 2 on, which is complete overkill. Oh well, necessity is the mother of invention. You know, I kind of like this, where the attachments actually look like they go right to the tanks. That's a massive thing though. Let's dump these for now. As long as that thing can detach properly, so I think it would be better to just put it like that. I wish we didn't need 2 though. This is 22.4 as well. Would they have had foldable antennas by the 1970s like this? I doubt it. Sure, like the others, but this kind that sort of unfolds itself maybe is too advanced. Maybe I'm overthinking things. That one weighs much less and it's much more convenient. Now let's take the harder option. We'll say again the 1 dish is for redundancy. Although how we're going to fit this in, I'm not sure. But first of all, we just move the whole thing like that. Then we need the fuel, of course. Now, how are we going to do this? Might need to do that first. I was thinking now there's going to be a whole episode just for this now. Oh, good grief. Oh well. If that's the case, then I will, of course, make the title of this episode clear so that people are not thinking we're already going to Eve, although we will, hopefully, still. Now, what does this give us? 1.2 kilometers. So now we're there. What happens to us then? We'll be moving very fast, though. 1.2 kilometers is not going to be enough to enter into an orbit, I think. I think we might need the baguettes. Especially because we still want this to slow down the probe to enter into the atmosphere. Now that gives us over 4 at the moment. Okay, there it drops. This stuff takes a lot of mass though. Okay, now we're gonna be smart. We're gonna say the engineers would surely have been clever enough to design a purpose-built antenna for this mission. So it's going to be this one, even though it's still difficult to attach. Well, it can go from that tank to that tank. So it has 3 attachment points. It's not floating in mid-air there. Yes, we will say that, comrades. At least now it's not too off-balanced either. Now, of course, we still need solar panels as well. I'm worried now that this thing is not actually going to detach properly. Let me think. We have to think outside the box again. Why do we need this now? Why don't we just make that the tank? Good grief, 2.4 kilometers. Okay, what now? How big is this? We could add another one. We'll just have to put this thing in sideways into the interstage. You know, I'm tempted to put another one in. Just so this antenna looks a bit nicer. Good grief, we could really send this straight from Kerbal. Oh well, it's an experiment, comrades. I'm very eager to see what will happen here. That's the whole point of this Apollo Venus anyway. These probes were experiments, if they happened, of course. So now we can just cover the sides in solar panels. This will definitely not do an aerobraking maneuver. That's also why we need the fuel. You know, it would look a bit nicer. Oh, good grief. I really like to complicate things, don't I? If it was attached to a flat surface. What am I doing? Okay, let's try this, comrades. Yay! What the heck are you doing? Well, I can honestly say I'm building something that's never been seen before. We'll put gold panels on, why not? In honor of the Apollo LEM, which is of course not going with us. So we'll put the panels on like this now. Okay, something like that. Now this probe thing does not have batteries of its own. So how much does the Communitron weigh again? Let's find out. That's 50 kilograms. And a battery? 5 kilograms. So we could put a few on this side to balance the thing a little bit. So that's 10. Is that really 50 though? Yes, so then the next is 500, and then of course we get the ton, which is 5,000. put them on like this. Okay, that's something. It's not the best looking thing I've ever built, but it does have a very specific purpose, so we can say this is purpose built. Alright comrades, that's it, no more tweaking. That gives us 2.9 kilometers per second, and of course it gives us a specific lander and atmospheric probe as well. That thing detaches, goes to the atmosphere. Let's just eager to see whether that would actually work, because I'm just gonna reroute this for a moment. Where's the center of mass? That's still on the bottom, lower. You can see it's beneath the half, so it should enter with the heat shield first. Let's hope anyway. Another experiment, I guess. Let's reroute back. Now, how on earth do we attach this thing? Where's its current center of mass? Right there. Would this even fit into the thing? Let's see, if I turn this on its side, that's about the full length of the width of the interstage section, so it should fit. Then we can make the attachment point there in the middle or on the side. So actually we can move the battery up a little bit, then use one of these struts, and then of course this adds a bit more weight to this side, which we need anyway, and then add a decoupler there like that. And then of course when the thing detaches, we leave it behind there, and it is on its own power with its own antenna, which it will hopefully be able to still communicate via us. Let's just see, is our antenna a relay antenna? No, I don't think it's a relay. But then again, I believe still Kerbal will be within 22.4 billion meters at that point. If not, it's a write-off, but this is an optional objective anyway. We'll see. Now, do we need to even worry about the staging here? Probably not. This thing is going to just go on to the other thing, so as long as the stages are high up on the list, they won't interfere with anything. So now I think what we need to do is reroute again to the decoupler. Then I'll take everything from the strut there and put it into a sub-assembly and call this the Eve probe. Now we're going above and beyond the Call of Duty because we're actually creating an orbiter as well. So that's certainly extra bonus points there, hopefully. So open up the rest of the thing again. Right, so what's next? Now, I think it will actually be better the way that we've done it, because if it lies sideways like this, it's not going to interfere with the docking or anything. Interesting. You know, comrades, actually, I'll probably mention this again later on a separate occasion. I was thinking about what do we do after Apollo Venus, and something came to me, comrades. Well, okay, this is not really such a surprise, but Apollo Venus was part of the Apollo Applications Program, and I was looking through the other proposals for that program, and one of them is to use the Saturn V to put a, well, it's still a relatively short stay, but the most extreme one, the LISA one, is 200 days, a base on the moon, so a base for at least a 200-day stay there. So then this whole part would be a lunar base, and then we land that on the moon, and then we obviously revisit it as well. The first stage of that lunar project actually calls for the LEM to be slightly adapted for a longer stay on the moon, but I think we can skip that one and go straight to the modular base thing. That would be very interesting. So that would be the ultimate conclusion of Apollo, the way it should have ended. I might even put that in the title. That should be interesting. Beyond that, we can do something else, but I know other people are waiting to see the Soviet rockets and all of that as well. But I was thinking, what if we try and build the STS the way it was supposed to have been built? The Space Transportation System. Of course, at the end of the day, we ended up with a washed out version, which was just the shuttle, and this shuttle itself was so influenced by the military that it changed the whole specification of the original shuttle and reduced the reusability a great deal. Now, the STS called for a space tug, including a nuclear one, to go between Earth orbit and the Moon. It called for a space station around the Earth at about 500 kilometers, including one in geostationary orbit, a base around the Moon, or in orbit around the Moon, and then also the tugs could do the landing as well. So it was a whole integrated system, and the shuttle was just one part of that. That would be a fascinating thing. I don't think, well, I've never seen anyone else do that, so that might be very interesting. But that will be many episodes, I think. So there it is. It fits perfectly, comrades. I'm very happy with this thing. Let's just turn the force down, otherwise it's going to break when it knocks into the command module. It still clips very slightly, which I'm thinking we need to avoid. Let's move. Uh-oh. Where are you? There. Just move the whole thing again. So, yes, that's it. Perfect. I'm not sure if we'll be able to talk, though. That's an open question. I don't think we will, actually. We need to move this out as far as possible. That still works. Now I'm actually really worried about that. Of course, we will have the service or module thing on the front, so that gives it more of a nose there. Now, this is pure nonsense what I'm doing right now. I just want to see what it would look like. Barely at the moment. Well, I think it would work, because we still have the docking port on top of that as well. So now we just need to make this believable. Struts, that's how you make a thing believable, I guess. So take that to in mirror configuration. I'm not sure, no, that won't work. I have to do this one at a time because the strut there is in mirror symmetry already. So like this, and one on the other side. That can attach up there. It's a custom built solution. Right, comrades, let's make sure the staging is in order here. So we still fire that, then all of that, then those, then that. Then that, then those, then those. Then now we get into the nonsense. Alright, so after that fires, we need the main J2 and the spiders to fire. Then after that we have stage 8 there, which now becomes stage 10. The stages are reversed here, of course. And then what happens then? So we detach, we dock. So the next thing would actually be probably the panels. Then we can lose the probe, and then of course later fire the engines on the service module. Now let's just hope this thing is going to detach here. I have not messed with that now, so let's hope we don't run into the same problem as before. Comrades, I'm going to save this, but with a caveat that you just keep in mind some of these stages will be a bit messed up with the other parachutes now. But once we detach the probe, they'll disappear here anyway, so it should not cause any problems. Now we are ready to go. Comrades, save. And then you'll find this in the Dropbox, of course. So let's pick the crew again. I think it's only fair that we take the ones we just had, even though they had to come back now, which I'm sure was a bit traumatizing. Hermes and Kelly. So in just a moment, comrades, I will see you in orbit if all goes well. Aha, comrades, we are here. We made it back into orbit. Although my worst fears did come true, the LES did not eject again, because I think it has something to do with the way that the fairing actually grasps the whole command module. So I had to rebuild it again, revert and so on. So, oh well, we are here now, comrades, and I think even more efficiently than before. I did the gravity turn a slightly bit more aggressively there, so, oh well. So, let's have a look. We are now in an 186 by 186 kilometer orbit, so we are exactly where we left off again. Let's F5 this thing. So our crew is happy, they're in very good spirits here. I'm wondering, oh, good grief, I never even saw that. That's a problem. Oh well, I'll fix that by the time of the uploading of this video. Let's pretend we don't see that. I'll just move the thing so it actually fits there. Don't worry about that. We'll lose the fairings in a moment anyway. So what do we need to do now, comrades? We need to insert ourselves into a very elliptical orbit. Let's just see how are we going to do this. Of course, it helps to set Eve as the target. So we want to burn that way, up on the screen right now. So if I make that sort of the elliptical thing, then we come around Kerbal again, burn a bit more and just go further. So actually it shouldn't be right there, it should be somewhere like that. Let's just see if this thing makes sense. So we'll put it beyond the moon, maybe? I don't want to put it... We can't anyway. What was the thing again that we saw? 112,000 kilometers? That's 26,000 and we're already past the moon. Now, in the real world, 120 or 112,000 kilometers is not yet to the moon, so I'll rather put it like this. Okay, let's do that. It fits thematically better. Of course, we have to keep in mind the scale of KSP. So we just position ourselves here, and it will be a 97-second burn. That already will take 743 meters of delta V off of the whole thing. So let's fast forward and admire the scenery as we go. Okay, coming up on the burn now. Actually, no. Still a few more Oh, good grief. Missed it slightly there. Not too much of a problem though. Always the risk of fast forwarding right before the burn. Oh, that sun is magnificent. There's N1 debris. Oh, let's not talk about that yet. Maybe an experiment? So I hope we have enough fuel for this business. We should have, because we still have a full service module as well. We can make correction burns with that, since after all we will be using the S4B as a living space, or we're supposed to anyway. So after we inject the craft to an Eve orbit, we can't burn the S4B engine again. Let's hope this thing makes sense, this plot of mine. So then we get there, then we just burn, so we straighten that out and it will go up. No, you fool, you fool. The way I'm burning, we're going to Duna. So many mistakes in this mission. Oh, good grief. F9. Okay, we are at least back now where we started. No, that would have been a disaster. We have to burn against our orbit to drop it. So it's actually this way. Hey. It shows you no matter how many times you've done it, you can still mess it up. Okay, so the orbit goes straight up now. I'm tempted to make it so we burn now. Okay, let's... Oh, we're not near the target though. I'll just adjust it again. Okay, 2, 1. Not probably the most optimal, but this at least gets us in the right direction now. So yes, then we still just make it go all the way out there. So this is the right one at last. Good grief. Can you imagine? Sorry, Valentina, Hermes and Kelly. You're actually going to Duna now. Change of plans. That will be a totally different mission though. Didn't see this thing clipping through here. See the bottom, the engine is there, so we can move the whole thing down a bit, so it's not a problem. That's easily fixed. Hopefully it won't interfere now when we have to eject the fairings. So how are you doing in here? I actually love the redesign of the Mark III capsule. I think it was a... Oh, look at that. A decent... A good choice, actually, not just decent. Okay, coming up now, 28 seconds. $19, $18, $17, $16, $15, $14, $13... I'm sure we'll have to make some corrections because of the inclination change. Okay, this doesn't have to be too precise. Okay, so we are now in our highly elliptical orbit and we can now do the turnaround here. So in this case I would like us to point, this is now the transposition and docking, not just the turnaround. Just point us in the right way. Now this has to be quite precise, so let me prepare myself mentally here. Now F5, first thing. So first of all we have to get rid of the fairings and the, of course, decouple there. So turn the RCS off. Okay, nothing blew up there, so the detaching was smooth there. Good, good. Now we just have to do the transposition and docking. Turn on number 1 key. Please turn around. Don't do too much. Oh, you're doing too aggressive. Oh, it's because it's fighting me. Okay, we'll fix it. At least this time I know what to expect. As long as that S4B is not moving, we'll be okay. Right, so let's just get into this kind of... Oh, no, not yet. We'll take it easy this time. So, let's try and lock onto it first. I think the reason it struggles so much is because these RCS ports are so well centered. For some reason, like, it doesn't struggle so much with those S4B, the auxiliary service pack. That's also an RCS, even though it uses liquid fuel, but that doesn't misbehave like this. So that tells me it's because of the... It's so close to the center of mass. Closer than it would like to be, I guess. Okay, we're somewhere. We're not there yet. We're somewhere. Oh. I think the S4B does move. That's also what causes the problem. I believe the detaching node thing isn't perfectly static. Anyway, let's hope for the best. Don't do that kicking again. Please don't kick us away. Okay, phew. Okay, we did it, comrades. Mission success, at least at this point. So, with a very fantastic vista there, and we do have enough clearance for the probe. So that's a great thing. We made it. Now, of course, we just need to extend the antenna, make sure all of our basics are in line, our ducks are in a row. And then, of course, this is now number 1 key. Let me just save before I... Number 2 key, of course. Save before I mess it up. Just to extend the panels. Of course, during this long elliptical orbit, we have to make sure everything is checked. Now, let's see. Of course, our docking was not like on the 90 or something. We are at a slight rotated angle there, but it's fine. I'm not worried about something like that. Actually, it's better like this because the door is clear. It's not facing the antenna or the probe. Then they couldn't get out for a spacewalk. I might actually do a spacewalk when we get to our apoapse now, just so that the engineer, Hermes I believe, can do a quick check of everything on the outside to make sure everything is looking good. Otherwise, it's not going to go well for them. I think the way that the service module turned out was actually quite nice, because any of the adapters would have been bigger, and I like the way this fairing turned out. It has more of a rounded bottom here, but that's fine. Yes, comrades, yes. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick break here, and we will continue the mission in a moment. I need to put the parrot to bed. Ah, comrades, look at this. We are actually in an eclipse right now. There is, of course, the sun or Kerbal being blocked by the moon. I was thinking now when I came back, why is everything so dark? Maybe we will see a shadow over Kerbal as well. That would be a very interesting, although ominous, goodbye to our crew. Nothing? It should be. Oh well, maybe not. Maybe we just missed it. Oh well, never mind that. Let's get to our apoapse, so that's still a few hours away. Just to see if everything is going well. Okay, it's now telling us it's time to go actually, so 3 minutes from now, but that's fine, we're already technically on the way. We'll just do one more loop and then, of course, complete the burn. So, let's just complete this to the apoapse. Okay, that's about it. So we are now at the apoapse, and to get back to the periapse will take 5 hours, so about a day. Well, we'll still get to Eve without a problem, I'm sure. So now, I think, what would be the easiest? We need some light on the situation. Maybe to do normal or anti-normal? Of course, we can still use the S4B's fuel. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now it is time, just stability assist now. Hermes, time for your EVA. So he's putting on his helmet and here he goes. He is now out. So let's just have a mock inspection. Of course, we know things are generally good here, but maybe it's also a good thing to check. So we see solar panels are all in order. The engine, does it look good here? Let's get a bit closer. Of course, don't turn it on now. Yes, it looks good. Nothing is broken. No space debris impacts. Okay, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. Just turn on your light, but don't look into the sun there. See nothing wrong here. Now, of course, I don't think they would have done this kind of spacewalk, although they might have done one near Venus in real life. No, everything looks good. I think we're ready to go, so maybe he can just turn back to Kerbal and give us his EVA report. Why not? And then get back into the craft. Whoa, good grief. But over eager there. Come on, gently F, and turn your lights off and board. There we go. So we are confident that everything is working as it should. Now, the thing is, are we still controlling from the right place? Because now the module is showing backwards here. Interesting. At this point, because we're now at our apoapse, we would like to be pointing retrograde, because by the time we get down to the periapse, we'll be facing prograde. Now we can tell this is the wrong way, because if we are on the other side, that will be prograde. Or will it? I'm now a bit confused here. Is this thing not upside down again? No. Where are we exactly? Because surely we want to be pointing the other way. Let's plot the thing out. That'll make it easier. That'll give us the point. So we are in the right place. That's fine then. Okay, so let's go with this first. That's actually a nice ejection there. And it is more or less in line with Eve. So if I just set that as a target. Of course, now it's telling us all sorts of things. We're so far away here. Actually, it's telling us when we're here, it's there. But that's fine. But I want the closest approach. That's not the closest approach. What if we do an inclination burn? I don't think we should worry about that. We will meet it. Let's do it over. Right at the periapse we will burn and just get us there to the orbit. We cross the orbit right there, so by the time we get here we can of course make the inclination change and all of that. It's because you can see the inclination of Eve actually puts it on its high point by the time we get there, so that's why we're not seeing it. But I'm trusting this alarm clock. Hopefully we can still complete our mission. Anyway, this is 21 seconds of burn time, so I'll say, what are you doing? Something weird is happening. It looks like it's such a minor burn. This stuff has now actually messed it up. I'm just wondering what happens if I say control from here. I'm actually going to use this docking port. Was thinking something is going to be messed up. That happens when you re-enter the pod after you've been on a spacewalk. Now we should be getting a more accurate read here. Well, we'll see. Let's go to the other side, the periapse. Where's Kerbal now? Because that makes sense, because then we'll be facing to the left and then burning back out again. Pitch black now. Lost in darkness, although we do of course see the stars. So, 10 minutes. Intense concentration. Don't want to overshoot this one. Last time we see Kerbal for many months. I don't know why it's doing this weird thing. The target is there for some reason. And if I burn to it... Why? Why is the target there? That's why. Something was fishy. I knew it. Okay, we're still right there. It's because it was reversed here that confused the whole thing. But we are back, comrades. So this is why we do an elliptical orbit first, so we can work out the kinks. Now this will go very fast and we'll still have fuel, but of course we will technically vent it now to make living space. Hey, let's hope for the best. There we are on an escape. We are going where no Kerbal has gone before. Just lock to prograde, please. Let's see, where are we? We're about there, so I'm not going to make any more changes. Cancel out that. Stability assist, shut down main engine. And vent the fuel. So, of course, I can't do that, but we'll pretend the fuel is now vented and I cannot restart this engine, the J2. So, comrades, we are now here. Now, let us just do a slight rotation, so I shouldn't be able to use that anymore either. Now, why is this? Oh, I did press the number 1 key when I tried to extend the solar panels. So, actually, we want to disable the auxiliary propulsion system here. I should have made a hotkey for that. Oh well, I'll try to do that before I upload this craft to the Dropbox. So just there. Now stop moving. Stop moving. Right, so turn that off, turn this on, and just roll us very slightly so that both solar panels are fully facing the sun. Okay, that's it. Now all I want to see, oh yes, this I noticed I was doing another experiment last night and I saw this. For some reason, I'm not sure, this is probably not stock, but I'm wondering. It shows here use relative exposure and select tracking body, which I've never seen before. Then you can actually tell it to select or track Kerbal or whatever the case might be. I don't know why you would want that, because you want it facing the sun there, but anyway. So we are on our way. Let's have a look. Can we see anything here? Okay, we're just looking into the thing there. That side? Oh yes, that side. That's our last view of home, comrades. Definitely take a picture of this. Isn't that something? I can only imagine what that would be like in real life, seeing something like this. Well, goodbye, Kerbal. Another F1 there. F5, save the game, and we are on our way. Actually, now we get a nice encounter there. It is just the inclination. We can make the change there at the descending node. So, comrades, I will speed this part up, but before we do, let's just move some of the crew into this living module. Of course, the fuel is vented now, so transfer crew will move Hermes in there, and we will move Kelly in there as well. So of course that's now a connected living space and the rest of the tank here, so that should be very nice for them. Don't know why we changed view there. Let's have a look inside. There's the moon as well, saying farewell to us. Yes, of course we can't see out, but that's okay. This is our home now, comrades, for the next few months. So I'll speed this up and I will meet you at the descending node. Do another F1. There's another N1 debris. Let's not talk about that yet. Wow, that's just stunning, stunning. Comrades, they are now where no Kerbal has gone before. Of course, I have sent Kerbals to Minmus and to all the planets, but not in this particular save, so it really is true here anyway. But we're of course simulating the real world. So we're beyond the Earth Moon or Kerbal Moon system. So we are in uncharted space for Kerbals now. Very interesting. Right, comrades, I've been playing around with this maneuver node for a few minutes now. I think I have something decent. This takes us 5.04 million meters away from Eve, which is a bit too far, but it will be okay. We'll still get a nice view. It's just because, given the place where it is at that point, I want us, of course, to be flung out on a higher orbit again, and this now actually takes us very nicely to the orbit of Kerbal again, slightly beyond, but I'm sure we can then tweak that further to take us home with a relatively minimal approach speed to the atmosphere of Kerbal eventually. We don't want to go out too far and then come back in with a great speed. That increases the risk of death, of course. So this is many days away, so I'm going to just F5 again and speed up. Oh, missed it a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. We're in such a deep space here that it's not really a problem if we miss it by a few minutes. Of course, now we're going to use the service module's engines. Just want us to get to that target now. You see, it handles this relatively well. But when it comes to turning the service module, it's all confused. Anyway, let's burn. So this is with a very low force, low thrust here, given the mass of the whole setup. So it's not going to break the connection there at the docking ports. Anyway, it's been 104 days. Can you believe it, comrades? Our crew are all in very good spirits here. They've been in deep space now, all alone, but of course we have an excellent communication back to Kerbal, 100% still. Very interesting, that's great. And yes, well, they've had to face the dangers of deep space, of course, specifically the radiation, but luckily no solar flares have come their way. So yes, that's always the thing. Now, oh yes, I never separated the panels on the service module. Let's do that now. Just F5 while we're burning. Okay, there they go. Not really necessary. What? What? Oh man, we're out of fuel? We are out of fuel. What do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? Of course, now they're dead. Well, in this case, I'm just gonna have to... This is now again not very realistic. We've already vented the fuel, but I'm gonna have to use the fuel that we have there. This is one of those cases where it did not work out. Well, we'll still do the rest of the mission and pretend that it did. I'll fix the whole thing here. I'll see what I can do about that. The thing is, though, we need to vent the fuel somehow. It was the mass of that fuel that's now messed us up. That's the problem. I guess now I'm just going to use the S4B engine, since we're now breaking with the illusion here. Ah, that's disappointing. Whoop. You see, that's more than enough fuel still on the craft. It's just now... Should have been in the service module, not in the S4B. That means I'm going to have to put more fuel into the the service module there. Anyway, now let me just see if we actually made it now. 4.9 million meters, and what does that give us? The projection does not quite go to Kerbal yet. Let me control this thing and just see if I can extend it a little. In this case, we'll just pretend the fuel was in the service module, comrades. Now hold on, which way do I need to burn for this? You see, that's what I'm looking for. There. So it is just prograde, alright. Yay. I'll leave this in, of course, comrades. I want you to see my successes and my failures. Just a pity. I'll transfer the fuel over into the service module. We're still gonna need it, of course. Because our mission is not done, we still have to make another course correction. Okay, let's have a look at the result. That's something we can live with, comrades, I think. Of course, Kerbal is going to be slower than we are, so we might meet it somewhere there, hopefully. Good grief, I'm hoping I'm not messing this up. If I set Kerbal as the target now, of course it's not going to tell us yet. And I add a maneuver here. What happens? We meet there. So we do want to go further out. At least about 18.3 billion. That's another 700 meters per second, which is too much. We have to do that now. Well, let's see. What happens if I burn prograde further? That's actually the wrong way. Doesn't really go further out than that. I think if we make the burn while we're near Eve, it should work out. Hey, this is one of those things where it's this is gonna be another cliffhanger, comrades. Let me just move the fuel into the, if I can find it now. Into the service. Whoa, there I even burned now. Can we transfer the fuel? Interesting. It must be... No, but it is enabled. Well, we're cheating already, so let me cheat fully. Magically transfer the fuel. We'll just have to do this mission again. Which is fine. This is a test run. Of course things are gonna go wrong. Well, the crew is happy. We're gonna need a lot more fuel in the service module. A lot more. I might have to redesign the whole service module actually. Could be necessary. We even have more fuel than the whole service module can still hold. But we'll imagine this was not a problem. Come on. Okay, so where did this leave us now? Still roughly on the same kind of orbit there. What? We're actually having an impact now. Well, comrades, I think this is actually an excellent cliffhanger for this episode. It's going to be 3 episodes then. Our heroes are right now stuck in space, hurtling towards the planet that they're supposed to fly by on an impact course now. And their survival is in grave danger because we don't know this fuel situation. So that's actually a good point to leave it on. Comrades, I'll see you next time. I'll keep tweaking or thinking about tweaking this rocket. I'd like to again do that on camera, but we will only do that once we return back to Kerbal safely, hopefully. So I'll see you next time, comrades. We're at least on our way now. I didn't like how this turned out, but at least we're still here. See you next time, comrades. Have a fantastic day.